This winter, 2023, you'll believe that a Godzilla movie can make you cry. Welcome, friends. We are talking about the movie that's kind of caught part of the world by storm, I would say. Godzilla Minus One. The kind of surprise for a lot of people hit of the year. It's really, really captivating, and we're really excited to talk about it. So I am Sparkz Witty. I'm joined by Ryan Eliopoulos.
Oh no, there goes Tokyo!
And King of the Monsters himself, Brandon McClure.
I'm the king of the monsters. We're all doomed.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
It's a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, so we're gonna get into the brand new from Toho, Godzilla Minus One, playing a limited yet extended run in the US and released in Japan last month. Brandon, why don't you go ahead with the credits, if you would?
Yeah, so full spoilers, I should say. If you have not seen Godzilla Minus One, we'll be spoiling the shit out of it. We're sans Ben Magnet, but we have his thoughts. We'll read those out a little later. But Godzilla Minus One was written and directed by Takashi Yamazaki, who is also the VFX supervisor for this film. And that's how it goes. So where do you want to start with this one? The beginning?
Ooh, wow. I guess just like general reactions.
Hey guys, let me tell you, as someone who isn't super hot on the Monsterverse, to be honest, this was a breath of fresh air. Oh my God. It's so nice to have a movie where I care about people and I care about the things that are happening to the people. And it's not just about Godzilla. Because yes, that is a big factor of monster movies, seeing monsters be cool, destroy stuff, even fight each other. But at the end of the day, if I don't connect with the people that Godzilla is stomping on, I don't really give a shit. So like me personally, I know you guys might be different. Like, I don't think about the Monsterverse very much, maybe except that one cool scene in Kong where Tom Hiddleston's like in VFX, like super glow, fighting a bunch of monsters in the air. But I have not stopped thinking about this movie since I saw it. It was only a couple days ago, but boy howdy, I love it. I know it's not the direction that like the American movies will go, because like obviously we just got a cool trailer with a giant monkey with a robot arm, but like this movie is so sensational and captivating and beautiful and actually has a message, and I care about everything involved in it. I could have used even less Godzilla and I'd be happy, and I got more Godzilla than I thought. So like I love this movie. I am in love with this movie.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that to say that I think, you know, we've talked about a bit on our Monarch reviews, which you should check out on Fake Nerds Watch, that like kaiju films kind of have their two lanes, and one is like the smackdown thing, and the other is the thing that's like more reflective of the human experience. And certainly like the smackdowns are fun; they can be visually engaging. Like Godzilla versus Kong is goddamn beautiful to look at when it's like the monster fights visually. Yeah. But obviously the human things are the things that stand out. They're the things that elevate them to be like our favorite films in the genre, for sure. And I think specifically because like I like having, not that I don't want the Monsterverse to do a little bit more work, but I don't need it to aim for like this.
No, of course not.
But like I like having the alternate flavors right now, which is like, you know, what Monsterverse is showing me they're going to do with Godzilla X Kong, versus like Godzilla Minus One needed to zag away from that. Yeah. And I think also like in the knowledge of, we're not getting a sequel to Shin Godzilla that did exist. Yep. You got it again. Like you can't follow Shin Godzilla up and say, we're not doing another one of those with a SmackDown movie. So the fact that they brought it, and we've been anticipating this from the trailers, that this was going to be a period piece, even more directly thoughtful about the World War II setting of Japan. What an emotional ride. What an incredible experience. In a lot of ways, like, I was both surprised and unsurprised, because it's exactly what I expected it to be based off like what we were getting in the marketing. Mm-hmm. But I was also surprised that was correct, and like not misleading. And like it was exactly what I wanted it to be when I saw it. And I didn't think that would necessarily happen. I thought it would be good. I didn't think it would be this. Yeah. So what a privilege I think we all have to be Godzilla fans in this moment. I mean, what a moment in general, between Monarch and Godzilla Minus One, and we know Godzilla X Kong's around the corner. Like what a moment, compared to where Godzilla was like post Final Wars.
I love you, Final Wars.
Very wild to be here. I'm super excited about it, but this is obviously like, holy shit.
Since we've already made the comparisons to the Monsterverse, which I want to keep minimum. I don't want to. I want this to be our last discussion of the MonsterVerse until our next Monarch thing, because I want to keep it focused on this movie. I think it's very important to keep it focused on this movie. But I will also put in my 2 cents and say, like, look, outside of Godzilla and Kong, the 2 solo films, MonsterVerse is not my favorite. It's franchise. I like it a lot. I think I have a lot of fun with it. But it's lacking. I find a lot more to love about Godzilla 2014 than my co-host here. But we all agree on Kong Skull Island being a pretty good movie. And I think that it reminds me of when the GXK trailer dropped and everyone was yelling about how there's no value in this, blah, blah, blah. And look, I'm not here to say that all of Godzilla is silly. I'm here to say that Godzilla has silly moments. Certainly there are silly films within the Godzilla canon. Certainly it's not an entire era is silly or an entire movie is silly. There are silly moments, and Godzilla is allowed to be silly. Especially, you know, and it's perfectly respectable. And if Adam Wingard wants to smack some action figures together, then by all means go ahead and do it. As long as it looks cool, I'll watch it. But those aren't my favorites. You know, those aren't my favorite Godzilla movies. What do I always go to? Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Attack is an incredible movie, a very deeply personal movie. Shin Godzilla is an incredible movie, a deeply personal movie. Godzilla 1954. Those are the films that I come back to again and again, because those are the films that challenge me, have a lot of substance to them, really want to talk about something, really have a message ingrained in them. And I'm happy to say that this is one of those films. This is by far in the top 5, in my top 5 Godzilla films. It shot up immediately. Like as soon as I was done with this movie, I was like, yep, top 5 Godzilla film, no question. Might be favorite. I don't know.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. But it is incredible that we're here to witness such an incredible moment in Godzilla history, but also just an incredible Godzilla movie that has done the one thing that I've always wanted to see, which is have the general audience be involved in seeing a new Godzilla movie in theaters, have them respond to it so well. This is something that the reason why MonsterVerse got so silly is because audiences weren't really responding to Godzilla. So what do? You're just like, well, let's give them some spectacle.
And I love candy. Like, I love empty calories, right? But like, Godzilla is a franchise where, like Sparkz just said, like, you can have both. You can have the really in-depth personal stuff, and you can have the big silly stuff. So like, just after like a decade of candy, it's just really nice to have this full course meal. That's just like going into it, I'm like, oh man, this just hits different. And then I'll have candy afterwards. And
it's so wonderful that, like, after Shin Godzilla, we got the Earth trilogy, and we got Singular Point, and I love Singular Point. Don't get me wrong. I think Singular Point's awesome. The Earth trilogy, I like one of those movies. I like half of one of those movies, I should say. So like, Void Ghidorah, guys, Void Ghidorah rules. But I think that, like, it's really cool to have a live action Godzilla film be accepted by the populace, by a Western audience, maybe not the general audience, but like a Western audience has come to this film, and it's so cool to see. And it's such an incredible movie, and I'm so excited to be here to just break it down with you guys.
I think importantly, like, a Western audience that they just didn't think was there, and like, that's shown that that's not true. Like, I won't say like, oh, you could bet the bank on the way that like Disney will do with huge budgets and anticipation of the audiences turning out and things like that. But like, certainly they didn't think Godzilla Minus One was going to be the hit that it was here stateside.
The box office for this weekend is The Boy and the Heron and Godzilla Minus One. Those are the number 1 and number 2 movies. So like, Japan is doing better like with their movies now in America than American movies are. And it's also just like, nothing substantial came out this weekend, so that also helps. But like, again, big word of mouth on Minus One, getting an extended release, The Boy and the Heron, a next Miyazaki movie.
And importantly,
killing it.
Godzilla Minus One being the highest grossing live action Japanese film in America.
That's crazy.
At the box office.
And it hasn't been out that long. That's crazy. I love it.
The number is because Shin Godzilla had like 2 days in theaters.
No, true. It's
true. Yeah.
But I want to say, like, word of mouth is incredibly important because what we have seen, what Ryan was kind of touching on there, goes even further. That not a lot came out this weekend except for Godzilla Minus One and Boy and the Heron, being able to dominate, which is incredible. But word of mouth is so important to general audiences. People say, "Hey, this is a really good movie. You should go see it." So then they will go see it. The reason why so many Disney films this year, for example, have bombed, and Disney's not the only one that's bombed movies, like a lot of people have, but like the reason why is because the word of mouth isn't great. People like don't, maybe wait for streaming or maybe wait for VOD or blah, blah, blah. But this one, but like word of mouth be like, you should see this movie like now.
In a theater.
That helped a lot.
I think that's an important point, and also kind of the attachment just to like criticize the American market right now of like, there is a like, go see it right now because it's really good, and I don't know when you're going to get to see it. Like, there's no straight stream pipeline. Like, it's like, I don't know when you're going to get to see it if you don't see it now. So go see it now. Because I told a friend of the podcast, John Radley, I texted him after I saw it. I'm like, hey, you got to go see this because I know how much of a Godzilla fan you are, and don't wait on this. I don't know when you'll get to see it if you don't go now. Go now. And he did, and he loved it.
Awesome.
But I think that's really important. And just as you highlight, like the word of mouth, this is one of my problems. Just this is a stateside problem. That the marketing we were talking about in advance of the movie, like there was just no marketing for this. And I do think this would have done better even from the jump, without the word of mouth having to like go tell people like, no, really, you got to go, or like, I haven't even heard of this kind of thing. That definitely happened for some people because like the marketing didn't exist here stateside. And I wish it did. Yeah. I wish they'd push harder, and I hope they push harder in the future because of this. That's like the only thing I really want to change is that they market this movie, a movie like this when it's coming, so that people actually know about it. But yeah, word of mouth, hugely important, obviously, because we know there was no marketing. Like that's word of mouth is why people are turning out for this movie. That's what I got on that.
Yeah. So let's start. Let's start with the beginning.
Yeah. Didn't really like. I was gonna forget this detail if I didn't see it a second time. The focus on the bomb in the opening shot I thought was really good. I wanted to highlight that. I thought that was a really good. It had me wondering at the beginning of the movie. I was like, "Yo, is this the bomb? A bomb? A big bomb?"
Yeah.
Like the whole time I'm wondering, like, until we land on the island and we see what's like going on, I was constantly like, is this like, are we gonna see the Americans dropping it? Is like, what's going on here?
Oppenheimer Part 2.
Yeah. But I really like the setup of it, just like the weight of it being there. And then immediately turned on our main character and that fear to not want to die in the war. That's a kamikaze pilot.
Yeah, having our main character be a kamikaze pilot is really wild because this is not a movie Americans can make. I mean, if you was a Japanese filmmaker making it in America, sure, but like this is a very much a Japanese-centric and Japanese-focused movie, and having it be not after World War II, like in the days after World War II, like right after, and he was still expected to kill himself for no reason because they've already lost, is incredibly wild. And having a whole nation of people who are like, "Oh, you didn't kill yourself? Dishonor on you." That's hard. Our main character might be like the saddest man who's ever lived. Truly, this dude. Like his war never ends, even after his war, because he's got to deal with Godzilla. Like it is rough watching our main character Koichi this entire movie, and it is so emotional. Like not to get spoilers till the end, but like it is so emotional seeing him go on this journey, and how even after the war is over, he won't allow himself to be happy. Yeah. Also because there's a giant monster rampaging his country, but it's like it is such an emotional movie. It's probably, again, I haven't seen every Godzilla movie recently, but it is without a doubt the most emotional Godzilla movie I've ever seen, I think. I was thinking about this movie like for days after, man.
What you touched on was really interesting there. Like he blames himself for Godzilla, right? He had whether or not he could have or not is left, we don't know, but he had the opportunity to kill this creature that becomes Godzilla. And he blames himself for that. That's why his war doesn't end, because he's like, well, not only did I fail my country, I actively unleashed this creature onto them. And this is my fault.
And he feels responsible for killing that troop on Odo Island, and then Tachibana, the mechanic's the only guy left. And he goes and talks to him. He's like, "Hey man, we checked your plane out. You landed because your plane was faulty." It wasn't faulty. pretty crazy if you ask me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God damn it, come on, man. And then everyone gets killed and he's the only one alive. Their whole journey together is so beautiful and sad and really funny. Just because, like, you know, like the letters he sends out. And it's like every character in this movie is like, and his connection to our main character just feels really, really honest and really real.
Yeah.
And just every performance is so good. And I just like the circumstances of how all of our characters come together. It feels so real. And like, this could have been like, I don't know if Godzilla wasn't in this movie. Obviously, it's like a Godzilla movie, but like these characters are so believable and so real. And like the impact of being in a war and veterans dealing with something after a war, feeling like they were left behind, is in itself an incredible story to be told.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's now into a sci-fi movie, just like, you know, it's what makes the genre so beautiful. It's like sci-fi movies, you know, capture reality. And I love the whole journey. I love all the characters. Again, our character is so sad. It makes me sad.
Something that I want to touch on. Something that I want to touch on is the scene in Odo Island. In the original Godzilla film, Odo Island is where Godzilla first kind of like reveals himself. Like there's this big whole kind of like moment when he destroys the island, and the people of Odo Island have a what's it called? Like a legend based off this thing, Gojira, that that's in the original film. What I really like about this film is making that real. Once again, we are on Odo Island, but instead of a mythical creature that they know, it is that they've that they projected what they think Godzilla is. That is a real creature that they are in kind of a symbiotic relationship with that helps them fish, and that creature becomes Godzilla. And I think that's a really cool way to adapt that.
Well, it is like fulfilling the promise from the original, because the original is like they believe that this ancient dinosaur-esque creature did exist around the island, and that's why the legends were there, and it got hit with a bomb. This is all like things they explain but don't show. And that's like their theory on where Godzilla comes from, and like that the residents of Odo Island were really seeing something that got hit with an A-bomb. And so you basically get that in full here, visually.
He's a little baby. He looks like a little baby.
I really like the design.
Yeah.
Both Godzilla designs are really cool. I didn't expect to see the mini Godzilla show up. Like when they're just like, what's that noise? Light monster. I'm like, oh shit, we're here already.
It's like a big T-Rex. I love it.
It's a cool design and a cool way to adapt that. And again, it's not just a superficial way to adapt something from the original movie. It informs our main character in a really meaningful way, because again, the scene in question is they're like, hey, get into your plane and shoot this thing, and he's got it in his sights, but he can't do it. He freezes up, and and so because of that, he is basically just blaming himself for this creature, for this creature's rampage later on in the film, because she recognizes it first as Godzilla. Right, in the train, when she looks at the train, when she looks out the window, she's like, "That's Godzilla, the monster that he told me about."
Yeah.
But he doesn't see it immediately. He doesn't see it first, right?
Right. She sees it, and then he's there to get her. But he like knows. He knows.
Yeah. We also see the kind of explosion that creates Godzilla too. Pretty explicitly, we see an A-bomb go off, and then we hear the roar and blasted with radiation. That was cool.
Yeah, I thought they found a good way to do it. It's still the Bikini Atoll Islands. It's still the tests there. I think the timing of when they started testing in bikinis fudged just a little bit, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I'd have to double check, but I don't know if they started that early after the end of World War II, because that goes all the way into 1954, which is when they stopped because of how severe the radiation sickness had gotten, which is again what led to Godzilla. But I still think that's cool. What I really like is like that it's just his eye. Yeah. We hear the roar and we see the eye, and then the eye starts getting the regeneration image change over it in the flesh and everything. I thought that was a really good way to go about it.
Yo, this Godzilla's a mutant. He's got a regeneration factor.
The way they track you through time, I think, is done really well. Just getting the updates on like this point in time, and where you are. I think they do a good job of submitting that for you. just staying on the Odo Island thing for a moment, I do think, like, just to what you were talking about earlier, I like that we do get the one moment of the guy who comes over, who's not Tachibana, and says, we need more people like you who, you know, like, die for honor for what?
Yeah.
Because importantly, like, what he's talking about there is, like, Japan's on its way to surrender, and, like, the A-bombs haven't dropped yet, but they know that they're going to they were on the way to surrender anyway. Like, that's where they were headed. It's like, why would you go die for
nothing,
a cause that's ending?
Absolutely.
Kind of idea, and like how people felt about that, I think is really interesting. I also think not that I think this is a really deeply present or still around thing, but like putting the focus on kamikaze, I think is just really nice for an international audience, specifically for an American based audience to see, because we don't get a lot of engagement with it. I don't think that the propaganda from the time has necessarily carried over, but like American propaganda at the time about kamikazes painted them as psychotic to be able to do that. And like, it has no regard for like the sense of honor that and duty that was crafted to, whether you think that's manipulative or not, that was crafted to have the pilots commit to that in their effort to win the war. And it's so lost from that kind of nuanced side of it. It turns them into, it's meant to go for the savagery in propaganda. So getting that as your protagonist, getting the all of the fear, all of the stress, all of the PTSD, all of the burden of when you come home, and because you came home and you were a kamikaze pilot, you are a failure. All of that is just something Western audiences are not given a lot of, and I think that's really really wise decision for how to frame this whole piece.
When he returns to his home, which has been destroyed, all his family's dead, his neighbors are dead, his one of his neighbors is alive, she's lost her kid, and she's like, wait, why are you home?
Right,
you shouldn't be here, you are a failure, you suck, bro. And I'm like, no.
And she blames him for the loss of her children.
Yeah, like, oh, if you didn't go and kamikaze yourself, all of this wouldn't have happened. I'm like, ma'am, that's not how this works. Come on, be a little. Everyone's in in fear and in sadness and in grief, so like they handle it their own way.
And
like,
I think it's really notable too, and like her perspective changes, right?
Yeah,
but like she and Tachibana, who both change their perspective about him as the film goes on, but like they are the two voices that are most present in his mind, regardless of the other people who will be around him, who say like, this is on you, this is your fault, you shouldn't be here, that kind of thing. And then everyone else in his life, no one treats him that way, because all the rest of them have a different perspective of how the war has handled them. And like, it's her taking out her personal loss, because she says like, my kids would be here if you, which there's no way to guarantee that. Like him doing what he did doesn't mean the bomb raids didn't happen where they happened to kill her kids. And Tachibana, obviously, like there's the personal attachment to watching him fail to shoot Godzilla and
his whole
crew dying. But I think it's really notable that like you've got all these other voices around him who are gently trying to encourage him to just live and keep living. I think the only one who like really attacks him at it, like really not attack, that's the wrong word, but like really tries to shove that to him is Noriko. But like everyone else aside from that, it's more of a gentle just encouragement of to keep going, and like nobody criticizes him. For like, even when the guys, I thought that was notable, like when the guys are on the boat all together and they find out that he used to be a kamikaze pilot, like no one makes a big deal out of that. Nobody shits on him for that.
I love that whole crew. Once they're introduced, the kid, the captain, and the doctor. What a great supporting cast. Oh my god.
The kid is an interesting character because he didn't fight in the war, but he admires people who did. The soldiers that came home, he was like, I wish I could have been there with you guys. I wish I could. And everyone tells him like, no, absolutely not.
You're lucky, bro. You should count your blessings you weren't in a war.
That's one of my favorite moments in the movie, is when he says, I wish the war could have gone on longer, and Shikishima grabs him and he's like, you better not mean that. And like he recognizes that he spoke out of turn. Right. Like war is he is, for him, he's raised entirely on the propaganda of the honor in war and what they were doing and everything, and they all have a different perspective of what that war has brought on them. I really like that crew. I think they're great.
Yeah. And then to round out the rest of the crew, we got Noriko, who is a lady who found a baby because the baby's parents were killed in the raids, and then out of the goodness of his heart, or she kind of just like works her way into his house.
She kind of just moves in.
She kind of just moves in. And he's like, why would you adopt a baby? And he's like, well, you held that baby for 6 hours. Why didn't you leave the baby? It's like, yeah, because you're all good people in your heart. It's great.
One thing I did want to highlight, because we're talking about like where he is, like Shikishima and Sumiko and all of them. They're in Tokyo. They're in a part of Tokyo that's been devastated by the air raid bombs, but not the atomic bombs.
Yeah.
We don't go to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which is something we definitely wondered if we were doing leading into this film. I feel like the weight of them is still just as present without us even having to name them.
Yeah.
And I really like the perspective of like getting the citizens, especially as we go through the movie, of like how their government failed to essentially protect them and value their lives. And that all of the attacks and deaths that happened there at a certain point became something that was in a war that none of them believed in anymore, if they ever had to begin with.
And we see how they begin to rebuild in the coming years on their own, right? We see that they're rebuilding their own communities, they're rebuilding their own houses, their own homes, their own families, on their own. They've got no help. They're obviously are finding jobs, but the government's not helping them, right? The government's not like, hey, we'll relocate you, we'll give you guys better home, better housing. They're not doing that. And then like it's what we knew from the what people were talking, what Takashi Yamazaki was saying, which is he wanted to talk about a story of how Japan was at zero and then Godzilla shows up. Right. So and I really think they do a good job of being like, yeah, we are rebuilding, we're kind of coming to a sense of normalcy, and then Godzilla shows up, and how is that going to defeat us? And that kind of like that allows them to kind of drive home the fact, the theme of the film, which is living, right? The theme of the film is like living. And so like that, so Godzilla is allowed to come into the movie at a time when they're just kind of existing, and shows them how to live, and it's his kind of own messed up way.
Yeah, I really like that. To your point, Brandon, like Tokyo's where we are with the family in Tokyo never really gets fully up on its feet while we're in the movie, but Ginza does, and they talk about, and they're like, Ginza's being rebuilt really well, and it's the one place that we go to that we see like a full city restored, and then Godzilla comes in and ruins it. And I think that's a really good use of it. It gives us a sense of like, because Tokyo's so behind, it gives us a sense of how far Ginza has come to be repaired and then immediately pulled back to the same place.
There's a lot of talk in the Ginza attack of this like historic build, like, there's the Steve Martin kind of, I think it's a Steve Martin reference. I don't actually know.
It's 100% a Steve Martin reference.
When they're like narrating Godzilla's rampage on the top of the building, and
we're so close. We're so dangerously close.
And they're like talking about this historic building has just been destroyed by Godzilla. Like they're talking about like these buildings that were rebuilt or weren't destroyed during the air raids, being destroyed by Godzilla. These like historic buildings being destroyed by Godzilla. In an incredible kind of like commentary on just how far Ginza was along in their rebuilding.
Yeah, I haven't watched the American dub of the original film for a while, but I'm pretty sure Steve Martin specifically mentions a theater, and so that's why this guy also mentions a theater. It's not the same theater, but it's a theater.
Doesn't Steve Martin also, doesn't his building collapses on top of him, and he's like,
yeah, but he's fine because he's the white guy.
He's fine because he's the white guy.
Yeah.
By the way, real quickly, for those who don't know, we've been saying Steve Martin. We're not talking about the actor Steve Martin. The actor Raymond Burr plays a character named Steve Martin in the Godzilla and the American release of Godzilla of Gojira. So it's really weird, but that is a true statement.
Hey, white guys got similar names, man. It happens. A lot of Steves and Martins out there. I love the little montage we have of the years after the initial Odo Island thing.
You'd like your pleasant, like little guitar music, and they're rebuilding and doing their things, family built.
Exactly. Koichi gets a job being a minesweeper in the ocean. That's where he meets.
He's out in the ocean. They're having a good time.
They're having a great time, and then he rebuilds the house. He gets a motorcycle.
And that's about 2 years.
Yeah,
roughly.
Noriko gets a job in Ginza, like we talked about at that place. But it's like it's the nice calm before the storm. Yeah, because you're like, this is a Godzilla movie. This shit's about to be bad.
But genuinely, you're watching that scene. Well, at least I was, and I was like, this is nice.
It is nice.
This is nice. Yeah. I'm really glad. I don't want anything bad to happen to these guys. I'm glad they're living their lives. Congrats. And I was like, oh, right, this is a Godzilla movie.
Yeah. I again, going to our main character and how he won't allow himself to be happy. He brings his whole crew over for dinner, and he's got his not wife and his not daughter there. And they're like, so how long?
Which they don't know. Yeah.
How long have they been married? They're like, oh, she's not mine. What about the baby? That's not my baby. Daddy, the baby don't call me daddy. I'm like, bro. Oh my God. Like, that made me so sad.
The baby calls him daddy, and he like his first, like, I've told you, like in like a sweet, like, I told you I'm not your daddy. And I'm like,
the thing. It's the thing about how he says it, that he's like, Akiko, and she's like, yes, and he's like, how many times have I told you I'm not your father? And then everyone's just looking at him like, wow, holy shit.
Anyway, how about that job, right? Yeah, it's this movie's also like really funny at times, just like with like the situational comedy that happins, but like it rides a line of like being really funny and then being really dramatic, and it's just like it's a really well directed and really well scripted movie. All the characters like feel like nobody says anything out of character to me. Like, it's all like, man, this is like just a bunch of people trying to live their lives in the midst of a monster attack. Like, it was really nice.
To your point about the montage, what I think that it was a really well selected amount of time to make us invest and believe in how long they've been around each other, where that relationship should be, which is what everyone else assumes and expects of them, and like what it hasn't become. Because he's holding himself, he doesn't believe he should have that.
Yeah.
He's still punishing himself 2 years on. Like he has some things, but he denies himself all of it. Yeah. And I think that's a really good establishment. And I think it was the right amount of time to get us there with that relationship and invested in the characters where they would have grown to bond with each other. Like Sumiko's functionally like the aunt to Akiko, and like that relationship is mended and all this stuff, but not too far from World War II.
Yeah.
Right? Like, not too far from the end, so that all of that aftermath is still living with us. Again, like, something that I think just allows this film to do things the original never could is because the original is 1954. This is taking place so directly, so close to World War II. And much to the point of, like, the Ginza rebuilding, like, that's so much more effective because so many places still haven't. And I think that was a wisely chosen amount of time.
Yeah.
To forge those, but also keep us in the space of, like, we haven't left this yet.
Well paced. Yeah.
There's still so much I want to talk about, but I want to talk about the design of this Godzilla.
Sure.
Because I think it's great. I think it's an incredible design. One of the things that you really notice about this one is that he's angry. He's not just mean. He's angry. He's on a rampage. He is personally, you can feel it. He is punishing Japan for what happened. Like, and we talked about it after we went to see the movie, Sparkz, but together, but you can tell in his eyes are really angry, and you contrast that with Shin Godzilla's eyes, which are very big and very kind of like they made the comparison to googly eyes, but they're not. But the idea for Shin Godzilla was that he's a god above men. He is he is above you. He does not notice your presence. He will never acknowledge you. He is a god. Whereas this Godzilla is not a god. He is someone who knows you're there and hates it and wants to punish you.
And I've seen people describe him. This is like the most cat-like Godzilla has been. Because like, yo, he sees like one laser pointer plane in the sky, and he'll go, "Oh, I'm going after that thing. Forget that town."
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, there's 1,000 people. You're gonna go after this one dude? Like, that's cat. That's cat. You're a cat. I love it.
And it's such a really good just kind of updated design in the first place. He's got an ability that Godzilla's always kind of had, but I don't think we've seen it so done so explicitly, which is this kind of regeneration ability.
He's Wolverine in this movie. It's awesome.
Yeah, and even in the picture that you have there, he's got white on his face because of an earlier scene where they thought they killed him, but then it reformed. Like the scar tissue becomes white, and so like he's covered in like kind of like scar tissue. Is a really cool kind of detail, especially after he uses atomic breath, which we find out is not only devastating to the place, but him.
That's such a cool idea. That like he is so powerful. Like he isn't the Shin Godzilla. Like he is so powerful he harms himself. Yeah. But he's also strong enough where he can regenerate. I'm like, that is baller. That is straight up Wolverine. Like I hurt myself every time I use my abilities. Like that's really cool.
So part of what I'm about to say is definitely a personal read, but I think it applies, and like even if it's not the truth, it doesn't really matter. I think it, like, what I like about the scars is it feels like a deeper expansion on the keloid scars that were the inspiration for Godzilla's skin to begin with.
Sure.
I think that's really thoughtful. Keloid scars, for those who don't know, being the specifically the scars on the skin of people who were affected by the radiation from the bombs at a certain distance out. Mm-hmm. And what I like about my reading on it is that because of the way the regeneration looks, the way that it seems to be working on him all the time, I feel like his body is constantly doing it. And so his body's constantly in pain. I think from the moment the bomb hits him, this is a Godzilla who is eternally in pain and angry because of it. Mm-hmm. Like he's always hurting from it. And I think that's a really strong point to put on it, because it's just this angry thing that can't stop being in pain, can't stop being angry because of the bomb.
I like that read. It's a good read.
Yeah. And then there's something that I also really like, which kind of goes back to 1954. Because the 1954 film is a dude in a suit, the rampage feels very not necessarily personal, but very methodical. Like this building, I'm going to destroy this building now. There feels like there's thought behind the destruction in the 1954 film, because it is a dude in a suit, and you can tell that the dude in the suit is doing something.
It's not Godzilla's going somewhere and he happens to be walking through the city and happens to be destroying things on the way.
Yeah.
And you get that with this Godzilla. This Godzilla is deliberately attacking buildings and places and people, and like he, like when he whips, one of my favorite scenes, like when he whips around, like destroys 2 buildings with his tail as they crumble, the reporters falling to their deaths. And so like I feel like you really haven't kind of gotten that from a Godzilla film in a long time. This idea that like even like the MonsterVerse, like Godzilla 2014, like he's not trying to destroy buildings. If you see him, he's like walking through the streets. The buildings are just kind of collateral. So like this Godzilla feels very much like I'm here to destroy this place. And these buildings aren't in my way. I am actively here to destroy them.
Yeah, I'm the tallest person in the city. Anything that I could see is going down, no matter what it is. And I'm like, man, that's you savage.
And he feels like he feels mean because of that, like a wrathful god almost.
Yeah, and I don't know. I still think Shin Godzilla's like his atomic breath, where it gets split into like beams and shit, is my favorite. But this version of the heat ray, that like it's literally like an atomic bomb at the end that explodes. Incredible, dude. Yeah. And that one shot where it's like him on the right and it's in the city, and then you have Koichi screaming as it rains like oil or blood or whatever's on him. He's like, ah! I'm like, I was like having a panic attack. It was so, also just because we saw maybe one of our main characters die. I was like feeling it in that. I was feeling it in that moment.
Oh my god, that rampage sequence is so like it's so smart to. I'm sorry, what's the girl's name? It's been a while since I've seen Noriko. It was so smart putting Noriko in the beginning of it and that city, because it gives us a reason to be scared of Godzilla. This isn't a monster rampaging a city. This is a monster that could genuinely kill Noriko, a character that we like, and so you are stressed throughout that whole time, because you know the first thing that Godzilla attacks, that you see Godzilla attack, is her train, And it's from then on she's in the shit. And I really like how we follow her through this. And even when he first shoots his atomic breath, and we see the explosion, it like pushes her back, and I'm like, she's okay, she could survive that. And then it does the sucked in. I'm like, nah, she dead.
Yeah, I up until the end, I was like, no man, they really did kill her. But like that implosion of like the second part of the attack, I'm like, oh damn, like everyone's dead in that city. No way, bro, give me a break.
Thank God that Shikishima was in the right alley.
Exactly, right. That's those two buildings, real strong.
But what I really like about that, like atomic breath radiation, in the trailer, I speculated that could be Godzilla looking at the attack of Nagasaki, or like that like that was him like looking at a nuclear explosion.
I thought the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like seeing that it's him who caused it is such a it's such an incredible moment, and such an impactful scene, and it gives, and it was, and again, this doesn't happen unless you care about these characters. There's so much weight to the scene because we care about these characters. We want to see them survive. We want to see them make it through. We're not rooting for Godzilla in this movie. And like even in Shin, most of the human characters that we follow are not in the radius of Godzilla. They are separate from it, and they are trying to protect people from Godzilla. And like that's on purpose, right? That's what Shin is trying to do. Shin is trying to talk about how the government would handle this sort of situation. So we follow the government. But here allowing us to follow the people creates such an interesting feeling to Godzilla's rampage that we honestly haven't felt in a really long time.
Yeah, like honestly, for a long ass time. You are right, because like even Godzilla 2014, like none of our main characters really go out from Godzilla, right? Like I mean, like Bryan Cranston and stuff, but like, and then
even
that it's the Muto, yeah. And then before that, like the movies are like Final Wars, and like it's really been a really long time since like Godzilla's chaos like feels real and personal to people. And it's again, it was like a breath of fresh air. Man, like when he's on the ground, like at like, and it starts. What is it raining? Like oil?
I think it's water. I think what
okay, just dirty
like,
water.
Well, I think it's the way that that the atomic blast breaks the cloud. So if there was moisture inside of them, like that moisture eventually
dirty water
starts coming down.
That scene is incredible, and the way he just cuts like
Don't
in the middle
quote me
of
on that. I'm no scientist.
No,
for sure.
but I wasn't sure what it was because it wasn't blood. We're not like watching Nope or something. But like it does like a hard cut in the middle of a scream, and that's haunting.
But thematically, like it's reminiscent of raining blood. It's not blood because it's scientifically we don't know what it is, but like it is like thematically, this is our main character. What's his name? Sorry.
Shikishima.
This is Shikishima looking at himself in this, like we're on him. Like thematically, he's there blaming himself. All this blood that's raining down on him. This is on his hands. This is his fault. Noriko is gone because of him. Like it's not blood, but that's like thematically what that imagery is evocative of. And there's so much to like. This movie is such a good movie because so much to dig into it. Ryan said this really well. I have not stopped thinking about this movie since I saw it.
Yeah, I agree. I think going back to what you were bringing up, the atomic blast at the end of his beam, I think is such a smart take, especially for this Godzilla, this film in particular. It again like keeps that so directly and starkly in conversation with what is meant to be his origins. Like notably, as we talked about earlier, like this is the first Godzilla movie to show an atomic bomb making Godzilla so directly. Like the closest you get outside of this is actually the 98 Godzilla, where it shows the iguana on the beach in the opening sequence and then a bomb going off in the distance.
Yeah.
That's about the closest you get though of the like direct stuff. Because 2014 can't count because we know that was just trying to kill him. So that's not the same.
Yeah.
But here, this is like saying this is so putting it 1-to-1 and to give that atomic power to Godzilla himself and say like, man, what the worst thing that could happen is if more of this could be done around the world.
Yeah.
And Godzilla's like, here I am ready to drop an atomic bomb anytime.
And of course,
anytime I like.
like the dorsal fin, the
yeah,
and it locks into place. Bro, give me a break. What a cool idea.
And also what a great shot of like, granted they're bystanders we don't know a lot about, but like it made me feel for all the people that are there, because like there's this bit when he starts charging the blast where they're all kind of aware they're about to die. And there's kind of an awe to the power of what they're witnessing.
Yeah.
But there's also a fear of like whatever's about to happen.
We can't do anything about it.
It's over.
Yeah.
Like it feels like knowing that the atomic bomb's going to go off.
Yeah.
Right in the distance. And it feels like them watching that and being overcome with the like, where would I run? What can I do?
And like the music like stops and it's like it focuses in on it and like the I'm like, man, like it is so dramatic, man. It is so good.
Yamazaki has talked at length about how the 2014 film inspired this film. And in many ways, Gareth Edwards, has talked about how he wishes that our military basically just didn't step in and be like, hey, you can't do some of these things. Which is what really hampered that film. Not saying it would have saved that film, but like there were some things that the military was like, you can't do that. But
gotta make it look good.
Yeah, but Yamazaki has talked about how like one of the inspiration, obviously visual, is Godzilla's beam being charged from the tail upwards. And he took that and just made it way cooler with the dorsal plates coming out of the skin. I was like, damn, dude, damn.
It's the closest I've come to like really wanting to get like a Godzilla action figure.
Oh like, man, it's so cool with
this one is sick as shit. And that leads to a great scene when all the homies are it's like a nighttime bar after this has happened, and they're talking with Koichi Shikishima, and then I think it's the captain who gets mad, like, why didn't you marry her when you had the chance, dude? And he's like, I couldn't.
This is the bit where they're challenging him because he's like, you want this plane to just go and like they're saying like, oh, if you fly too close, he could kill you. And he's whatever has to happen. And
why don't you want to live?
The captain's like, you just want to avenge Noriko. And he's like, what's wrong with that? And he's like, why didn't you marry her while she was here? And he's like, I couldn't. And that is where he first says like, my war isn't over.
That's a great line, man. That comes back full circle later.
Yeah,
man. That's a great little scene.
I really like the captain's perspective on that. There's this upsetness tangentially of watching Shikishima deny himself something that he should have had. And he's like, are you just gonna orphan this little girl? Like, are you just that selfish? And I'm like, oh my God, it's so sad.
There's a really great so the people the government, the people have decided that the government's not going to do enough about this. Yes.
Before we change fully from the destruction of Ginza, there's only one more thing I want to say about it, which is I think it's really impressive how powerful and emotional and cool that moment, that whole sequence in the film is for us, considering how much of it had to be featured in the trailers. It is the only time that Godzilla really destroys a city.
Yeah.
And they put a lot of that in the trailers, made you feel like he was going to destroy the cities a couple of times.
Yeah.
But it's all just on the table in that scene, which is also really surprising and interesting for a Godzilla film. You don't normally get the big city destruction scene in a singular solo Godzilla movie in the middle of the film, and then that's it.
Yeah.
It's a really cool, interesting choice.
Yeah.
That I wanted to highlight.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh, one more other thing about that scene. Also, the first time that the original Godzilla theme comes into use.
Oh, yes.
From Ifube's original Godzilla theme. What a great hit when it hits.
Yeah,
it hits hard.
The few times that the theme starts, I'm like, oh, this is magical. This is magical.
There's been a lot of people talk about. I will say, I do kind of wish it was a new recording. Like it was the composer of this movie, like having done a new rendition of it, because it is very clearly a recording from maybe the original. I don't know, but it is a recording from an original.
It's definitely newer than the original. I'll say that.
Yeah. But Shin Godzilla also did the same thing. Like Shin Godzilla doesn't use there's actually a lot of music in Shin Godzilla that is reused from other things.
Don't quote me on this because I'd have to look into this. I would, but I think I believe that the original composer has passed away, and I believe that the last time he composed it has been the times that they use it every time since.
Okay, interesting.
So like anytime they're using it, it's him composing it the last time he did.
Okay.
Interesting.
Stock track composed by Akira Ifukube for King Kong versus Godzilla and Mothra versus Godzilla from the 60s.
Okay, yeah, that's the that would be yeah, and like Shin Godzilla did the same thing. Like, you know, Shin Godzilla uses that track as well as the one from Evangelion. What's the one? You know guys know the one from Evangelion. Yeah. So I'm not opposed to them using that. I just kind of keep the continuity of the music of the movie. It would have been kind of nice to have a new recording.
Yeah.
I agree with you to an extent. I will look this up at some point if it's a respect thing.
Maybe.
Because that's what I'm wondering is like I do feel like that track in Toho Godzilla movies has been the same for years. And I wonder if that's the reason. I wonder if like they just refuse to play a version that's not composed by him.
Yeah.
That also could explain why it's so difficult for American composers to get the rights to compose that song. Right?
It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me that like Brandon McCreary broke a wall down with just what he was planning to do that really impressed them. But like
he showed him the sample from King of the Monsters and he's like, come on. They're like, yeah,
I will at a later date look into this if it is a kind of out of respect to the original composer thing.
Yeah.
That they don't remake it with a different composer.
But the needle drop is still really good because it first shows up when we first get like the first big like look of Godzilla. Sorry, I will also say one more thing about the Ginza attack, which is that it's great to have it from there's very few moments where it's from an omniscient third person. It's either most of the over the head shots can feel like they're in a helicopter. There's a lot of stuff from the ground level. There's a lot of stuff on buildings. It was really smart to do it that way, to kind of once again create that weight of this is actually happening. This feels real. This feels like dangerous because it's not from. It feels heavy. We're not omniscient to this. We're in this.
Yeah.
That was really smart. And like that goes to like the first time we see Godzilla is in the train, right? Like she looks over and we see the big reveal of what Godzilla looks like in this movie is on the train, and that's when the needle drop hits, and that's really good.
Yeah. And very much a lot of throwback to the original imagery of the first Godzilla, obviously the train, but just kind of like that setup shot is not a one-to-one mirror, but very close to the full body reveal shot of Godzilla from that film as well. Like obviously a lot of tribute stuff there going on for sure. All right. I wanted to cover those things.
I was so curious how they would try to stop Godzilla in this movie. Were they just gonna be like, oh, let's try to bomb him a lot and that won't work? But like Oda being Mr. Scientist also like worked for like the Navy Scientific League or whatever. So like he's part
Navy technical officer.
So like he was part of the government, but like, yo, we're gonna try to sink Godzilla and the pressure should be strong enough to like compress him and kill him. And some guy's like, wait, doesn't he live in the ocean? And I was like, yeah, wait, what? But no,
it's about the speed.
It's about the speed of it. Yeah. Like if it doesn't work sinking him, we have the balloon manufacturers of Tokyo here, and we'll inflate a bunch of balloons and we'll bring them up and the pressure will crunch them. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to work, but I want to see it.
I always remember there was like one of the Discovery Shark Week things, real quick side tangent about science, where they had a shark tag on a great white shark. And all of a sudden the shark dove to like insane depths. And they were like, well, two things are wrong. One, great white sharks don't go that deep. And two, that was way too fast.
Yeah.
That shark died. And they found out that like a giant squid had come and taken it.
Ooh,
straight down. But they found out that like giant squids would be predatory towards great whites in certain circumstances, that kind of thing.
That's the next sci-fi original movie.
Anyway, that did make sense to me. Like once he's like, yeah, because it's the pressure, and I really like the visualization of it. Not to get too much into the finale, but it's the cold. It's the way that it damages you from the outside in. So like the oxygen in your skin starts freezing. And the rapid pressure change, like that's why your ears would pop for us, all this kind of stuff. The same thing that people talked about with the submarine earlier this year, that the reason it went like that, the pressure change at that depth, that rapid, that's essentially what they're trying to do with Godzilla by pulling him down so quickly.
Well, couldn't they just hold their breath? Anyone seen Meg 2, The Trench?
Yes. That's the most scientific movie of all. I love it.
Anyway, one of the things that I really one of the stupid movie. Sorry, now I've just Meg 2 of the Trenches playing in my head. One of the things I really liked about kind of the callbacks to the original is that none of them were very overt. You kind of have to go looking for some of them. I'm not sure if this is intentional, but to me, when which I think are the best callbacks when you aren't sure they're intentional. When they're doing the demonstration and they drop the wood. You caught this too.
No, I think this is 100% intentional. I don't think this is a mistake at all.
And all those bubbles come up. It's very reminiscent of the oxygen destroyer scene from the original movie.
Yes. At the end of the original film, they put like the way that you see the oxygen destroyer working on Godzilla is just like they put essentially just a screen of water with a whole bunch of bubbles coming straight up over the overlay of the filmed image that they were making to show how the oxygen destroyer was working, and that felt very reminiscent of like surround him in a ring of bubbles.
Yeah.
Yes.
I read a review online that mentioned could this be a reference to like, so I think you're 100% right, Brandon.
Yeah, I don't think
those are kind of the callbacks I like, where you're like, I'm not sure if this is a callback, but it feels like it could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is I think this is really cool. And 100%. There's almost no world where I don't see like bubbles, like that's on purpose.
Yeah.
Like especially because like it's most focused in the demonstration, right? Like we see the bubbles shooting up around him as he's pulled down to the ocean bottom, but like that is more like in its place kind of thing. It doesn't feel as direct as like the demonstration. I 100% agree with you. That feels like very, very much like trying to one on the bubble idea visually. I think it's so like I love the original's concept of why they do the oxygen destroyer. In the original, it's because the scientists had already been working on something that was essentially like you were basically getting a Japanese Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Who was working on something that he was like, maybe I shouldn't have been doing this, but like maybe it also will save the world. But his whole thing is that he wants it to die with him, which is why he destroys all the research, and he literally dies with it in the movie. And I think that's great. That's a great concept for that film, for what they were trying to say about humanity at the time and all that. That technology was ahead of itself. What I think is cool about this is this feels like something they could have possibly dedicated the resources to achieve.
Freon bubbles.
I don't think it would have worked.
Yeah.
But it feels more plausible than just like somebody was working on the next atomic bomb.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're going to write a note that I wanted to mention something real quickly. But one of the things that I really like about this movie, which I will say a lot of times, take a drink every time I say that, and then get wasted. But when they come to the determination that the government's not going to do anything to stop Godzilla, they can't. They're going to be locked in boardrooms and blah, 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 blah. It's up to us, and it becomes the people standing up for themselves, the people choosing to live because they now know our government is ineffective. Our government doesn't care about us. We are nothing to them. So let's take this upon ourselves. The only people who care about each other are us. So let's do something about this. Let's all kind of come together. And that's also what, like, hey, when they're approached with this military dude, why should we lay down our lives for you again? It's like, I'm not asking you to lay down our lives for me. I'm asking you if you want to save us. And that's a really good distinction that they make in the movie, that this general will get them ships, but they're not serving him. Mm-hmm. They're not serving the government. They're doing this because they are people that want to live. And that's kind of what turns them.
The people of Tokyo. Like, they're not fighting a war they don't believe in. They're fighting a cause that they believe in.
A couple of things around this is like, it's on order to stay, so that's an important part of that. One of the guys, so a few of them leave because this is not what they wanted.
They got families,
and then one of them who's still staying, and you can still see people in the room are like debating going, and he's like, so there's no guarantee of this succeeding. We might win, we might not, and it's like, it can't be guaranteed, no. And he's like, well, those are better odds than the war. And like that right there, I was like, that's some good criticism on like where they were at that time, how they felt about what the government had put them through.
Yeah.
And like that's baked in, just to your point, and also like Doc's speech later the night before, where he says, go home, be with your families, and one of them in the room is like, you mean be prepared to, and he trails off, but he's implying to die, and he's like, no, that's how I just want you to, I want you to enjoy the time with your families, but we are not going out there intending this to be a fight to the death. Like that's not what this is about. Our country, he has that really great speech where he's like, our country has been too careless about the meaning of life, the value of it. We get badly armored tanks. We use kamikaze fighters. Like all of this has been mishandled terribly. We're not doing that way.
We're not fighting to die. We're fighting to live.
Yeah.
Godzilla creates, that's a great line. That's a great line, Ryan. Thank you. Godzilla becomes a second chance almost for World War II. It becomes a cause that the people can rally behind finally, because they couldn't. They were kind of like, they feel that they were fighting a losing battle throughout World War II, but this is a battle they could win because they, as Ryan said so succinctly, they're not fighting to die, they're fighting to live.
Well, and like also I really like that the captain's talking about them when they're readying all the ships and everything, as he's looking at them and he's saying, look at them, they're, they know what they're risking in doing this, but they're all smiling. And it's because they believe in it.
Yeah.
They're doing something that they believe in, at least.
Yeah.
And that's the key to it, is like, everyone knows that there's a chance, like no one can guarantee they're not going to get killed in this thing with Godzilla. It's just not the goal. And like, there's a chance, but they're doing something they believe in, and they're doing it for the reasons that they care about. And that's just that is put in stark contrast to like where they have been because of the war. And like that, you have all these different male characters and female characters, but mostly male characters, who you see who have been affected in like all down the chain in a multitude of ways by the war, without like getting into all their stories, but like people who have watched friends suffer through it, like the way it breaks down from like even the Navy commander all the way down, like nobody is pleased with where the war ended them all up at.
Something that I forgot, kind of want to mention about Godzilla's design, that I want to kind of reverse this into a little bit, is he's small. Not small, but relatively to previous Godzillas, he is. I think he's less than 100 feet. Because the original Godzilla was 50 feet, wasn't he?
The original Godzilla was pretty small.
No, the original Godzilla is pretty small.
I'm 6 foot. I can beat up Godzilla.
They keep scaling him up, but one of the things that I think has gotten really ridiculous is that Shin is 390 feet, and Monsterverse, I think, capped out at 400 feet at GVK, and like that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Like we've and like the idea is that because buildings got bigger, Godzilla should get bigger, blah blah blah. But and it's kind of created this, I think, false narrative that in order to be terrifying, Godzilla needs to be big. And I think that what this movie did really well is like to say that's not the case. This Godzilla is not the largest Godzilla. But that doesn't make him any more terrifying. And I honestly think he's one of the more terrifying versions of Godzilla we've ever seen.
Absolutely, yeah.
He feels beefy.
Yeah,
he feels beefy.
Thick. He's got a thick, thick front.
He throws a whole ship out of the ocean.
Yeah,
yeah, man. Jesus, that's because they're like, okay, he's early.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the ocean scene sequence, but I do want to. How tall is Godzilla? Looking it up.
-1. Yeah. I'm sure the beautiful like size chart with all of them like standing next to each other.
The original Godzilla is 50 meters, which is 164 feet.
That makes sense.
How tall is Godzilla -1? Let's find out. -1.
Godzilla facts with Brandon.
He is 0.1 meter taller than the original.
There you go. All right.
So he's about 165 feet. Interesting.
Yeah, and again, like he doesn't have to be double his size to have an impact. Like he's still a big chunky boy who can create atomic blasts. So like it's perfectly works for this movie.
And it's so smart. To Takashi Yamazaki was incredibly smart to focus character first, to create the site, to make characters. And I'm not saying that Godzilla films don't try. There's plenty of characters that you care about in every Godzilla film. The original has great characters.
Let's not get crazy. Let's not say every Godzilla film.
No, but a number of them do try, and like they've even Godzilla 2014 tried. Like they didn't set out to. Godzilla 2014 set out to make a movie about how legacy can destroy families, and that's something that Monarch Legacy of Monster picked up, which is I think is really great. But that's something that the movie couldn't succeed at for whatever reason, either skill or someone said, "Hey, no, make a giant monster movie, beat 'em up." But it was so incredibly smart to focus ourselves on character on this film because none of this matters if we don't care about these characters. Like if this film existed as it does, as exactly as it does, and the characters are poorly written, we don't care. But if this is a different film with poorly drawn characters, then it could still potentially be a good movie. But this movie, as structured, is fundamentally a far worse film if those characters don't work, because it's not about the monster. It's not about Godzilla at the end of the day. You can cut Godzilla out of this, and it's still a good drama. And it was so smart to make that decision to be like, if these characters don't work, this movie doesn't work. And I'm happy they approached it that way.
Doing the period piece, doing the PTSD really, really is such a good, like, not that the characters aren't good apart from those factors, but like centering that as like a thing that like everybody's dealing with some amount of trauma after the war. And that's a universal feeling that they can all live with even before Godzilla shows up. Really, really present something that no Godzilla movie has been able to do before.
And the scene, like when everyone's getting ready to go, and the kid, he's like, "All right, I'm coming with you guys," and Doc and Captain are like, "Nah, stay behind, kid." It's like,
yeah, absolutely
what?
not.
We leave the future to you.
We leave the future to you. Oh my god, it's so good. He's like, "I can be helpful. Let me do it." And boy, how does that pay off later? I thought we were done with the kid. Mwah.
I want to talk about Shikishima.
Yeah. Shikishima.
He this whole thing that nobody knows he's going to do this, but they think he's just going to be a plane that distracts Godzilla. But he has decided that he's going to outfit this plane with a bunch of bombs, a bunch of weapons, and fly it into Godzilla's mouth, and kamikaze, and be that kamikaze. Finally,
I will say, like, I agree with you that the captain and the doc don't know it. They do suspect.
Sure.
That he might do that. They say, like, he's a failed kamikaze pilot. It's making me nervous.
Yeah.
And like he's not, obviously when he's shouting at Shikishima from the boat, and he says, like, "Don't you dare make Akiko an orphan, or I'll kill you."
Yeah.
And Shikishima just ignores him.
Yeah. There's so much I want to talk about this movie. I completely forgot to talk about. Before we talk about that, I think we should probably talk about the first time Godzilla shows up, which is in the ocean.
It was in my mind. I was letting you go with what you were doing.
I think probably Shikishima's sacrifice play should probably wait a little bit, and we should talk about Godzilla first showing up in the ocean.
Minesweeper with Godzilla.
What a crazy thing it is that no Godzilla film has ever taken advantage of Godzilla being in the ocean like this before.
Yeah. And it's such a good sequence. It looks incredible. Like the CGI in this movie is incredible. But
this in particular for like the shot that everyone goes to of the like such prominent where he's like just popping his head up around from the water and like going for the ship, and the ship's just in the foreground. It's just like we've just never seen Godzilla like that.
Like the
before.
money shot. People are like, "That's a practical effect." I'm like, "Nah, man, that's just hard work. That's just good having a special effects coordinator also be your director."
I mean, to be fair, we've seen the Snow White and the Huntsman films. That doesn't always work out. But it did here. Like, it did very much here, and I'm so grateful it did. And so, there's a lot of great shots in this film that, as Ryan said, it's just hard work. And I want to take this moment to shout out the VFX artists of this film, which there are many. The Japanese film industry is very much predatory, very much in favor of crunch. They are very abusive to their workers, and it's important to acknowledge their hard work in creating this incredible piece of art. So that said, the sequence where Godzilla attacks the battleship is awesome. Like, it looks incredible.
Yeah, this whole ocean sequence is awesome. The tension in it reminds people of Jaws. I get it. 100%. The use of the mines, the first mine that makes Godzilla pop his head up, then trying to shoot the one in the mouth. All of that, just really, really excellent stuff. It really makes, for Godzilla, like, for a first impression of Godzilla, even if we're not seeing him in full, to feel scary.
Yeah, and again, his like part of his face gets blown off, and then it instantly regrows. You're like, oh man, this Godzilla's a threat. Oh no, like, they can't even blow him up. What are they gonna do?
And I really like the opening, the beginning. They're looking at this ship that's been destroyed, and they're like, "What are we supposed to do against this thing?" And like, the government knows that Godzilla's out there, but they don't know like how bad this is. So they send these two little skiffs out there to figure it out. And they're just kind of like, I don't know what the hell and that kind of goes back to the theme of the movie, you know, like how the Japanese government doesn't value human life.
They're to stall for the battleship.
The captain has a really good line in the sequence that I also want to highlight, which is the one where he says, this country never changes. Maybe it can't. Which I thought was really, really good. And well placed.
And then they're looking at their sister ship, and they're like, hey, whoever finds it gets blah, blah, blah. And then just Godzilla like comes out of the water, just taking their sister ship. Incredible. Oh my God, I love this movie. God
rest the souls of the Kurashima, who we never see.
Yeah, right. And so okay. So Shikishima, that this whole movie. If there's anything else you guys want to talk about the ocean sequence, I'll move into.
I do want to just touch on the use of I thought it was quite clever, the use of Japan won't get involved on a government level militarily because the US and the Soviets are having stuff go on, and anything the Japanese do, because they're part of like what's implied here is there's a lot of US occupation in Japan, a lot of like, we're rebuilding bridges, like blah 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 blah, and it's like of how the United States like inserts itself into Japan at this time, and
General MacArthur.
Thank you. They really highlight him in particular because he got like activated against Japan and was a part of the like leading tirade on this because of Pearl Harbor. And I thought that was a really smart way of to just kind of work around like the international politics of what's going on in this moment is like the Japanese government staying out of it because they're technically like US aligned now because the US is occupying them. So anything they do, the Soviets perceive as the US does.
Yeah.
And that's why the US is like, you can't do anything. And Japan's fully in a state of like, because of where they're at, where like whatever the US says goes.
Yeah.
We'll send a Steve Martin over.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and I kind of know where you're going, and I just kind of want to lead it in with I think that some of the scenes we get with Shikishima at home with Noriko, when he finally tells her about like the people in Godzilla, and he says this isn't real life, this is the dying dream of a dead man, and things like that, and he's being weighed down by those pictures, and it's right before Godzilla comes and takes Noriko from him, that he's asking the pictures actively like, can I be allowed to dream again?
And his parents, because he has like memorials for his parents too.
Well, his parents I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of was gonna forget, but like I thought it was interesting that we get really early on the letter from his parents that he looks at that tells him to live. And his parents knew he was a failed that he was a kamikaze pilot as well. And they're telling him like, live, like go live. And I think that's really, I think that's just an interesting thing to also be present, is that the original like live message comes from his parents and then continues to get passed on to him from different people. Shigashima's journey through that and his regression, because he starts to believe in having something with Noriko, and then she's taken from him.
Yeah.
I think that's all done very well as an arc.
It's not necessary, but like, I mean, that's the arc of Japan. Like, they're rebuilding, they're getting, life is returning to normal, and then Godzilla shows up and regresses everything back to its immediately post-war state, including our character Shikishima, who has the weight of Godzilla's attack, the weight of losing Nariko, the weight of losing the weight of living through the war, which is a freaking horrible thing to put on someone, that they should be ashamed for living through a war. And I, so he decides, so he's pretty certain he's going to kill himself to destroy Godzilla.
In a cool backwards ass looking plane.
It looks really cool. It's a really cool sequence. I love watching him like distract Godzilla back into the ocean. And I love watching him fly around. By the way, second needle drop from the Godzilla theme. The dun 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 dun. It's a really great moment.
It's so well timed when it's
the ships start moving.
Godzilla. It's the buildup of Godzilla's like power, and him destroying the like dun 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 dun. And then it's when the naval officer, the captain, says, "All right, full steam ahead," and then it kicks in the military version. It's like, hell yeah, the ships are going. Yeah,
sick.
You and I were both in the theater, and I saw you like, yeah, all right, here we go. Like, I got so pumped listening to this. That moment. It's so good. But I want to kind of focus on this moment with Shikishima. Look, we'll talk. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about the plan, but like, he does attack Godzilla. He does go into his mouth as Godzilla's charging up his atomic radiation and explodes his head. But lives. He bails. And I did not need the scene that flashes back where who's the mechanic name?
Tachibana. I agree with you. I didn't need it.
I didn't need the scene where Tachibana says, "This is the eject button. Live." But thinking about it, it's really important to see it, because again, we've heard we've already got everybody who was very antagonistic to him saying you should have died during the war, and now changing their mind. And now we have, once again, him who embodies this kind of like, who was there when they first saw Godzilla, who knew him, who saw him lead his kamikaze run, like, and he's the one to say, live, be with your daughter.
I do think it's important, because like you have to kind of keep everything in mind, because the scene is cut up between that flashback and the moment before. Mm-hmm. But when Tachibana is going over the plane stuff with him, and he says, I'm gonna do this for sure. I'm ready for this. Mm-hmm. And it's shown that Tachibana is looking at him look at the pictures of the crew.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the drawing from Akiko. And Tachibana sees all that in him, and sees, this is an interpretation, right? But like, is seeing what he's put on this man.
Yeah.
And maybe wrongfully, right? Mm-hmm. That those pictures are the things he put in his hands. Mm-hmm. Tachibana put those on him, and he has carried them this whole time.
That's true.
And Tachibana kind of has to reckon with, how much was I in pain from my trauma after the war, and putting all of the responsibility of that on this person when we were facing a dinosaur from the ocean. Like, there's an amount of having to like reconcile with that. Yeah. So I do think it's really important, to your point, that Tachibana is the person who's the last person who tells him this is the ejection seat, but it's not that part that's important. He says live, because he gets this look like, you're telling me there's an ejection seat, and he's like, I want you to live, which is also I forgive you and I want you to live.
That's a good point.
Like that is the thing that lets him move forward from that pain.
Yeah, and when his chute appears, like, it's fist pump worthy cheer. Like, oh my god, thank God he's alive.
I think it's important, like the live moment with Tachibana is important in the flashback because you also get when the chute has opened, Tachibana's listening really closely to the radio. He's waiting to know that he ejected safely because his salvation is Tachibana's salvation from the war.
Yeah. Yeah. And it creates in order to kill Godzilla, you got to destroy every single cell. And they certainly did it, right?
Again, just like Wolverine, you got to destroy every single cell. Because like that boy's just gonna be a blob in the ocean.
Or Cell.
Ooh.
I love everyone like being really excited about it. There's two specific GMK Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah Giant Monster Attack that I recognize watching this film. Which, look, I need to rewatch it, but it is at this moment still my favorite Godzilla movie. Godzilla Minus One might take it though. But when Godzilla rises from the ocean, because the massive drop failed to kill him, they rise him up to try again. His eyes are completely white, which is very reminiscent of the GMK Godzilla suit. His eyes are completely white. The idea of GMK is that he's a wrathful spirit possessed by the souls of World War II soldiers, and so there's no like. His eyes are meant to be like empty.
Right. And like this happens because of the freezing from the pressure change.
He's all like white stuff.
But to your point earlier where you were talking about the personality of the eyes, it is even a stronger choice here, I think, to have those eyes taken away from us. That rage feels even more like untethered. Yeah. And then sorry.
No, you go ahead. You're still going.
And then the other thing is the alluded to Cell moment. And at the end of GMK, spoilers for an older film. The very end of that film, they kill Godzilla, but his heart is sitting at the end, sitting at the bottom of the ocean, and then just at the end of the movie, it starts beating again. And that's how that movie ends. And I felt very reminiscent of when we're seeing the cell of Godzilla float down and it starts reforming. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. I love he does his first atomic blast and they have like a decoy ship ready for him to attack that ship with the atomic blast. It's like, we got so much time. He needs so much time to reload. He doesn't need that much time to reload, y'all. And it's like a really dramatic moment. And then Koichi comes in with the plane and saves the day. At the end, I thought there was going to be a big ass explosion because like the blue beams are leaving his whole body. I thought there was going to be another big explosion, but he kind of just like crumbles, and I'm like, oh, I thought it was about to get worse. Jesus Christ! So like it was kind of like a nice like sigh of relief. Great, and it's great finale, man.
It's a great way to kind of show the audience that like, yeah, they did it. Revel in your victory. Because they did it. They were able to beat him and there were no ramifications. Everyone lives, everyone gets to go home. Great job. Man, but as you were talking about it, when the kid shows up with all the other boats, all the tugboats like pull them, oh my God.
What I didn't catch until the second time I saw it with Ryan was that when they're talking about the plan at the bar and they're trying to think like, how do we make sure that the inflations work? Like, what if they fail? And the kid suggests, why don't the boats pull Godzilla up? And they're like, he weighs like
20 tons,
like so many tons. Like, there's no way those two ships could do it. And he's like, oh, right. And he kind of feels the moment is like, oh, he feels like that was a stupid idea. But then when you get to the tugboat thing, it's that he's been working on that thought since that moment. And his solution was tugboats. And it's so good.
All the tugboats.
Again, going back to like, the sense of people and like if you really want to get thematic about it, there's a message of because he says here come the useless to the rescue, and it is the perception of like the men who went to war being supported by the people who didn't, and like that's part of the theming of it, right? Is like they are public citizens, but they are all public citizens who went through war who are now out there. They are coming and being saved by the people who were considered not the people who should be in war. And by that context is like that kind of support at home that goes against like what Sumiko did when he came home. It's this like how we all lift each other up kind of idea.
And she got that telegram, which like I know it's about to happen. Oh
when she shows up, Sparkz turns to me and goes, "Oh, I'm about to cry," and I was like, "I am crying, like actively,
Yeah.
like I'm with you, Sparkz. I don't think there's ever been a Godzilla film that's made me cry before. But like it could have been seen as such a cheap move, like this girl is alive, but it becomes such a heroic moment of my war is over. I can come home to you, and it gives him a happy ending. It gives him that. Well, we don't know what a sequel can hold, but it gives him whatever is in her neck. But it gives him kind of that happy ending that he wouldn't have if she had died. He would still get an ending, but it would be kind of bittersweet. But allowing the character to have a truly happy, happily ever after kind of moment is really important, and really helps this movie nail its emotional ending.
Is your war finally over?
So I was already getting weepy. Like the tears did not fall yet, but like when he's holding her, but when she says, "Is your war finally over?" or whatever, and I'm like, drop it. And I'm like, I got a random stranger next to me. I got my homie next to me. I'm like, I can't do this right now. It's so good.
And they pull a Shin Godzilla with not quite as interesting, but there's something in her neck moving at the end there, which is very, very interesting. And he wants to make 2 more, which I'm happy. Hell yeah, do it, man. I'll be there for each one.
He'll clearly get to, because the movie's been such a smash success.
It's already it's made back its budget a millionfold over.
I mean, look, I'm still burned from that Shin Godzilla sequel we never got. So like, until he makes it, I'm not sure it's happening.
That's a good point. The world is a weird place. You never know.
I think they'd be foolish not to follow this up. If he has something he wants to do. I think that would be silly.
I agree.
It's incredibly because like I also see it, you see it coming and you're like, oh, it's gonna be Noriko, and it's like, it gets you emotional and everything, but it is your war finally over as he's holding her and crumbling into the emotional wet bag
waterfalls
of loving her that he is, that it's like, oh my god, it's finally like it is like that full catharsis, full arc for him.
It's beautiful
that you get because of that. I think the whole execution of the plan sequence at the end of the film is really excellent. Just following everybody, all the different characters through it, I thought was really good. Again, like you care about everybody that's involved, and there's someone in every position of the plan, so that really, really is effective.
I even like the general guy, who's like the leader. Like he doesn't get a lot of screen time, but like that's a dude who like he was probably leading a bunch of people in this war that it did not end well for him, and he's still willing to like, yo, I'm still here for Tokyo, I'm still here for my people, I'll do whatever I can. I'm like, that's great, man. Like there's like, again, like you just said, like there's people in power of every level, and they all care, and they're all like willing to live to fight Godzilla. I'm like, it's a beautiful message, man. It's great.
Should I read Ben's thoughts?
Yes, thank you.
Let's do it.
Thank you. Yes.
All right, let me pull them up real quickly. I should have had them more prepared, but
thoughts.
Here they are. Okay, he wrote quite a bit, so if you guys want to chime in, just stop me.
Will do.
This is by far the best Godzilla movie ever made. While I enjoy the legendary films for their spectacle, this reminds us all that Godzilla is a force of destruction brought by a horrible weapon. Minus One does not shy away from this fact. What Minus One does exceptionally well is how I actually care about all the human characters, not just the main cast, but everyone on screen. That's a good point, actually. Yeah. I care about Kochi's redemption and was moved. Kochi?
That's Shikishima's first name.
Yeah.
Right. Redemption and was what?
Koichi Shikishima.
Koichi Shimashima, yeah. Shikishima. Redemption and was moved by how it was revealed that the other Oda Island survivor wanted him to live. Nakio? Noriko. He's misspelled all the names. Or he or Apple.
Autocorrect might be a problem.
Yeah. Noriko's death was heartbreaking, and I felt for the neighbor who spat at Koichi's face after returning from the war. Yeah. As a 70th anniversary project, this film hits all the right notes. It was a treat to see irradiated Godzilla, and how they redo his atomic breath is not only ingenious, but makes sense and drives in the nail that Godzilla is part nuclear bomb. Godzilla's design, to me, is more Heisei era, but cranked to 11 on the menacing scale with how terrifying he looks. Yeah. I There's a lot of Heisei in the face, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
All in all, Godzilla Minus One is an amazing film that takes the monster back to its roots in stunning fashion. I hope to see more of this Godzilla in the future. 10 out of 10 in my top 5.
Yeah, I think he's as quicker than I think I am to say like far and away the best of all the Godzilla films ever, but certainly like high up there. I think it's probably been a while since he's seen the original or ones like GMK, as we said, but it's definitely like it's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible that I think it's certainly holding hands with the Titans.
Yeah,
Titans.
Shall we also give it a rating?
Oh my lord!
10 out of 10. I have like literally no complaints. I think this is a perfect movie. It's a perfect Godzilla movie. It's the type of Godzilla movie I have been kind of craving, and it's now like legitimately like I am now going to go and watch some of the older ones I haven't seen since I was a kid because I'm like there are some of these that do exist. They're just not American ones.
Sparkz?
Yeah, I think it's just such a wonderful thing that on the scale of Godzilla films and on the scale of like international engagement with Godzilla films and then just international and specifically Western audiences getting this perspective on Japanese post-World War II, even if it's bundled up in a Godzilla movie, it's still just something that's so fresh to Western audiences specifically to be treated this way. I think it's wonderful. Again, like going back to some of the early part of the year discussions when I was talking about how crazy it is to have Oppenheimer and then this in the same year. I do think like it really gives you both of them I think are offering context and perspectives that Western audiences didn't have before. Simply or in a general sense, like don't engage with. And I find it very valuable. I find it very human, very relatable, and very like powerful in how it sits. We talked a bit about this after we saw it, Brandon, but the Shin Godzilla is very critical of modern Japanese government and like the government specifically in a direct way. And this is a period piece that is very critical of the Japanese government in post-World War II and what they put them through in the war, but from a public citizen perspective. And I think that's really, really good. And I think both of those things share a really valuable conversation about what Godzilla exists for. And what his larger meaning has always been. And it's really great that we can still have these things 70 years into the existence of the character, the monster that represents still the very thing that they were driving for when they created him, and maybe even does it better in some ways. And I think that's great to have that. I think it's wonderful that it's been really getting a lot of attention and a lot of people have been connecting with it. They nailed it in terms of the fear of the monster. They nailed it in terms of the atomic conversation, the World War II conversation, the characters, the emotional depth of them, the arc. 10 out of 10.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything that has been stated on this podcast and everything that was just stated by the two of you. It's an incredible movie. It's truly something I never thought I'd get. It's something that I deeply appreciate exists. It's 10 out of 10. 100%. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 across the board. I mean, if only we had made our 10 out of 10 graphic we've been talking about. Just be like, 10 out of 10s across the board, baby.
And I remember a couple of years ago, like before this movie was even announced, like Toho was like, we're bringing Godzilla back. We're going to do our own universe. And I was really worried that like, again, they're valid, like the candy popcorn Godzilla movies, but I was really worried we were just going to get a Japanese version of that again. And I'm so thankful that we didn't. And we got this instead, because this is like cinema art, baby. Like this is like the real deal shit. Like this is not a movie that like, that maybe the general audience won't accept because it's a little too real, but it's the movie that I think everyone should see if you really want to see like what Godzilla like can really be. Because it's just like, it's really special. And it's really, again, having that Japanese perspective is, especially during World War II, bless you, is really important. And again, like a kamikaze pilot being your main character is not something I don't think any American has ever seen in a movie. Yeah. Like it's just not represented. And it's really, it really like, puts the human perspective on like what people think like the Japanese fighting force was during World War II. Like they weren't savages. They're people just being told what to do with their country. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a valuable movie too. I think
this is a Godzilla movie that we as a world have been long overdue for. I think the Japanese deserve to have a film like this for them, and I think we deserve to be made to watch it.
Clockwork Orange style.
I think like there's a lot of value in the discussion that a film like this can create, and I think it's so powerful that we can be 70 years into the character.
That's crazy.
80 years into getting to 80 years since the end of World War II, and have something that is this striking and powerful and resonant, and what a wonderful gift that is. And there's no, I don't think there's a world where the follow-ups to this, I'm sure they'll be great. They're not going to be able to do what the first initial conversation about this was able to do. And I look forward to them. I'm sure there's going to be something powerful in them. I'm not worried about it, but this was a specifically unique story and experience that I'm really, really glad we got told the way we did.
Yeah.
It does seem like, whether this is a sci-fi film, it does seem like, based on the just the two teases at the end of this film for what a sequel could do, that any sequel will lean heavier into the sci-fi elements. Which again, every interpretation of Godzilla I think is valid, silly or otherwise. But I think this is a really good place to take Godzilla. I think this is a really incredible film, and I look forward to those. I hopefully look forward to any sequels that he wants to do.
Yeah, it just goes to show that like how versatile like a giant monster movie can be. Yeah. Like really, like Godzilla again, 70 years. Like that's crazy to think that like how many movies has this guy had? Like more than James Bond at this point. Like it's so many decades of different types of Godzilla, and they're all valid for different reasons. It's just really cool that Godzilla stood the test of time, and it has interesting takes every couple of years.
And I think there's a lot of people who won't engage with the original anymore, dub or otherwise. They just won't. It's
old movies,
too far back there. They won't go to it. And I think it's really great to have something that stands in that same a breadth of conversation as what that original was doing, because like no other Godzilla film is besides this one is trying to capture some of the stuff that original was. It like directly in terms of Japan and what it was going through in the allegory of Godzilla itself.
Yeah.
There's other things that have gotten closer, mean something different for a different period of time, but this is standing in conversation with that one specifically. And I think that's great because 70 years on, people maybe need to be reminded of what Godzilla means.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. So what do you say we get out of here?
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for this Godzilla Minus One review. We hope you enjoyed the film as much as we did. You can check out other Cine-Files on this channel. If you like this video, subscribe to this channel, or if you are subscribed to the audio feed, they're all there. Check out our website at fakenerdpodcast.com for all sorts of things, including our Fake Nerds watch on the other Godzilla thing that's out right now, Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. That you can check out 2 episodes of that right now and more to come, of course. But check out our website, fakenerdpodcast.com, for all the links to everything we do. All the shows we do, everything is there. You can also check out our TeePublic and our Patreon if you'd like to support us financially. We greatly appreciate it. You can also find us at Fake Nerd Podcast on all the social medias. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter, where you can also find me writing for atomicgeekdom.com. Sparkz?
You can find me bowing down to the king of the monsters. That's Sparkz Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
Well, that's me. You said that was me.
Bowing down to you.
And Ryan?
You can find me downloading Gigabash for free on the Epic Game Store, because Godzilla is a DLC you can buy over at DJ Tony Snark. What? DJ Tony Snark all over the internet.
DJ Tony Snork.
Now that's my new name. I'm snorkeling.
That's funny.
And you can also find our good friend Ben Magnet, who couldn't be here, at Ben Magnet27 on Instagram, Twitter. I'm not going to list all the ones he's at, but he writes for a bunch of websites and he plays Mary Frankenstein on D and Dark. All right, guys. Until next time you see us, guys, like this video, subscribe to this channel, subscribe on your podcatcher of choice, and until next time you see us, stay fake nerds.